So what is confirmatory factor analysis? Confirmatory factor analysis is a method where you actually test the structure that you have obtained from factor analysis on a different uh, sample. Remember, we never do factor analysis on the same sample. If you have done exploratory factor analysis on one sample, you will not repeat confirmatory factor analysis on the same sample. You will collect data from a different sample and then uh, test confirmatory analysis. So again, what you did was on first sample, you explored the factor structure. You have now found that 10 items load onto 3 factors. Which items are loading? So we now understand TO 1, 2, 3, 4 load onto factor 1, EMP 1, 2, 3 load onto factor 2, LEX 1, 2, 3 load onto factor 3. Now you take this knowledge and collect one more sample, and on that sample you do validity testing. That is, you test whether this factor structure holds good or not. If you are not developing your own measures, that means you are not constructing a new scale. You are picking up a scale published in a paper, a prior paper. You only do confirmatory factor analysis. You collect data and you do confirmatory factor analysis where you actually test the factor structure. You don't do exploratory factor analysis. As I mentioned in the last class also, exploratory factor analysis is done when we are uh, developing a new measure. If you are not developing a new measure, you will not do exploratory factor analysis. Is that okay?
Uh,
Okay,
Yes, sir.
remember this.
Thank you, sir, in asking my query. Sir, yesterday I had mailed. Thank
Yes,
you for clarifying.
yes. So that is the idea. So what is validity? Validity is different from reliability. Reliability was consistency. So if I have multiple measures, whether they are measuring some common construct, right? That is what we wanted to test through reliability. And in validity, what we are saying, it is about accuracy, whether the measures are actually measuring, whether the items that I have constructed, whether they are actually measuring the construct that I am interested in. So remember, when you do exploratory factor analysis, we now know TO 1, 2, 3, 4 are one dimension, EMP 1 to 3 are another dimension, LEX 1 to 3 is third dimension. You will report their reliability. You will report the exploratory factor analysis result. Then you will report reliability of each dimension. And then you will go to the next stage, which is confirmatory factor analysis. And that brings us to this idea of validity. There are 3 types of validity that we talk about. One is the content related validity. And we have spent our first session talking about how do we capture the content of the construct, right? How do we write items? And that is a purely subjective step. So we have done that. The second is the construct related, which is mainly concerned with associations between test scores and other variables that are dictated by theory. So now I have explored the factor structure. I now take another sample, a new sample, and then there I will do the confirmatory analysis, and then I will also test the relationships between that construct and another construct that is dictated by theory. So for example, in the data that we are going to work with, I am developing the scale of leadership. Now leadership, I have constructed this measure. And theory tells me, literature tells me that leadership should be related to fairness or justice perception. right? Theoretical arguments are made that leaders, good leaders, actually create fair workplaces. People who work under good leaders, they believe that their workplaces are just, they are fair, right? So this is dictated by theory. So what I am going to do is I am going to measure leadership through my measure. I'm going to measure justice through already existing scale, and I'm going to show that these constructs are related to each other. Similarly, if you have good leaders, then we can say that people are likely to engage in creative activities, right? Creativity. So creativity and leadership should also be related, right? So that is what we are trying to state here. So there are three types of, and then the last one is criterion. That means the construct leads to some outcome, which is related to construct. I will explain what we are doing. So there are three kinds of reliability that we are going to focus on in the topic of confirmatory factor analysis. The first one is called as convergent validity. You would have heard these words many number of times: validity, convergent, discriminant, and nomological validity. This is also there in that first chapter of Madhu Vishwanathan's, right? Different kinds of validity. So what is convergent validity, discriminant? Let me just show you through on the whiteboard what we mean by these things. Okay, so the whiteboard is, I think it is closed. Let me just open it up. Yeah. Okay, so we are talking about yes. So we are talking about three types of validity: convergent validity, discriminant validity, and nomological validity. Okay, so now what I have through my measure, I have developed EMP, TO, and LEX. Okay, I have developed a measure right. These are the 10 items that we have. Okay, now what is convergent validity? So I have developed a measure of my construct, right? I have written these 10 items. Convergent validity talks about two things, right? The first thing is convergent validity says whether, if I have developed measure of leadership by me, that is developed by me, and I have already existing measure of, I have another existing measure of leadership, right? Which is not exactly the same, but you have similar measure. So what do we expect if there was an already existing measure of leadership? We expect that the measure developed by us, by me, should correlate with an already existing measure of the construct. Is it correct? Right? Because there is a construct leadership, I have developed a measure, and there is also an existing measure of leadership. So theoretically, these two should converge. What does it mean? That there should be some reasonable correlation between these two scales, these two measures. But you may not always have the same, you may not always have an already existing measure. That can be a limitation, because you are in your introduction or theory building section, you are actually claiming that there is no existing measure for my construct and therefore I am developing a measure. So that is also possibility. In that case, obviously you cannot test this first kind of convergent validity, because you cannot show the correlation between your measure and any other existing measure of the construct. There is second kind of convergent validity also, which we test through confirmatory factor analysis, and that is whether the items load onto the expected factor. Expected factor, that means if I have these three items of EMP, whether they load onto this factor well or not. And how do we test that? Some of you may have heard of this. We will compute another component, another sort of variable, another result, which we call as composite reliability. So we will compute another indicator of convergent validity, which is called as composite reliability in the literature. It is similar to alpha. We computed alpha when we were not in confirmatory analysis, but when we are into confirmatory analysis using SEM, we will compute another reliability measure, which will be telling us whether the items converge onto latent factor or not. And its cutoff is again, the threshold is again similar to alpha. It should be greater than 0.7. Is that okay? So this is what we talk about when we are doing convergent validity. Now, convergent validity, let's say now I have this leadership construct, okay? And so this is, let's say these are first order, 3 dimensions, and this is my second order. I will tell you when we come to CFA, I will tell you what it means. But now, what is the second kind of validity? That is discriminant validity. So let's say I have another construct which I call as procedural justice. I have another construct which I call as creative performance behaviors. Procedural justice is measured through 5 items. This is the example that we are going to do. And creative performance behavior in our study is measured by its 6 items. Okay, now theory tells me, from my reading of literature, theory tells me that leadership is related to procedural justice, and leadership is also related to creative performance behavior. So I know there is leadership relationship with these two constructs. So what I do is, I also, when I am collecting data for my study, because I am testing the validity of my scale, what I do is I also measure these two constructs, PJ and creative performance behaviors. These are already existing scales, right? So I am not developing there. They are already existing in the literature. Now what I do, what is discriminant validity? Discriminant validity says that this construct, leadership, is discriminant from PJ And this construct leadership as measured through my measure is discriminant from CPB. That means what do I mean when I say discriminant? That means the correlations between leadership and PJ is not high. Because what do we mean if it is very high? What are we saying? We are saying that the leadership measure that I have constructed is actually is overlapping with PJ, right? So therefore I need to show that leadership as measured through my measure is discriminant from PJ, from the procedural justice construct. Similarly, leadership is discriminant from creative performance behavior construct, right? So that is what discriminant validity means, which says that is the measure not related to constructs to which it is not supposed to be related. That means it should be related but not very high. That means we are saying they are the same construct. So we will do another test to measure this discriminant validity, and we will come to that again. We will check their correlations, and then we will compute another indicator which we call as average. So when we are going to talk about discriminant validity, we are going to compute another indicator which we call as average variance extracted, right? And through this we are going to test the discriminant validity of our construct, which is leadership as measured through the 10 items that I have. And the last one, which is nomological validity. Nomological validity says that now if I have this relationship between leadership and PJ and CPB, so these are the outcomes. PJ and CPB are the outcomes. Whether this construct has significant relationships, so they are dictated by theory. These are the outcomes. Whether these relationships, so whether the betas here, they are significant or not. So leadership, what is nomological validity? It is the network validity. And what is my focal construct? Let me just show you here. So if I have focal construct of leadership, we say what is the nomological network? Nomological network is made up of antecedents and consequences. It is made up of antecedents. So there is something that causes leadership, and there are some outcomes that leadership, right? So in nomological validity, we are actually testing these relationships, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, and beta 4. So we are actually doing in nomological validity, we are actually testing regression equations and showing that these betas are significant for our construct. So what I have done, I have shown that there is convergence, items are measuring my construct. Then I have shown that theoretically my construct is different from other constructs. And then I am also showing that this my construct, this is my, remember, this is what we call as the focal construct. This nomological network is of focal construct leadership. So it has some antecedent, it has some outcomes. And I am showing that my construct as measured by the measure I have developed is related to antecedents or outcomes or both, right? So that is the final stage of validity. So we have evidence that our measure is a good measure of our construct, and that is what we have to show. So what we will do, the last thing is we will test all of these relationships, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, right? And that is what we do. And you would have heard, this is exactly the benefit of structural equation modeling. CFA is a part of structural equation modeling. Structural equation modeling is nothing but, okay, let me come to what do we mean by structural equation modeling. Structural equation modeling is nothing but regression analysis. Remember, at the end of the day, we are doing regression testing, but we are doing regression analysis along with checking the factor structures. So it's what we say is structural equation modeling is nothing but it is a combination of psychometrics and econometrics. What does econometrics do? Econometrics does regressions and psychometrics is where we do factor testing, right? So if I were to, the beauty of this technique, structural equation modeling is, if I were to do this separately, I will do factor testing for leadership, I will do factor testing for PJ, I will do factor testing for CPB, then I will do regression testing for first, regression testing for beta 2, and then regression testing for beta 3. But in structural equation modeling, I'm going to test the whole thing in one go. I can do everything in one go. So what is it that we are going to do? We are going to test measurement model. So we call this as CFA or measurement model for leadership. This is our measurement model for leadership. Then we are going to do CFA, another CFA for, this is CFA or measurement model for PJ. And then we are going to do another measurement model for the third construct that we have. Okay, we are going to test the factor structure, and then what we are going to do is we are going to do a structural model testing. We call this as a structural model, where we are going to test the relationship between the three different constructs, and through that we are going to prove discriminant, nomological, and convergent validity of our construct, right? So we will test first, we will do CFAs, and then we will do structural model testing, and we will prove B1, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3. They are beta 1 and beta 2 especially because they are related to our focal construct and they are significant. And all of them, all of this will be done in one go through what we call as the structural equation modeling technique. So CFA is a part of structural equation modeling, which we call as measurement models, right? We do measurement models and then we do structural models also. Okay, so structural and structural equation modeling is nothing but regression testing, having accounted for their factor structures, measurement errors, and so on. Okay, and then for all of this we get fit indices. We will get fit indices here. Okay, the tool will give us the fit of the overall model of, we will get it for CFAs also. And so the first one is the same thing that we discussed for EFA, which is chi-square by degrees of freedom. And we will look for the same thing that we did for EFA. We will look for, ideally we should have p-value greater than 0.05. Then only we will say that our model-based covariance matrix matches the sample-based covariance matrix. Then a lot of times what happens is, this is the gold standard. If this test passes, everything else passes. That means the tool, you can confidently say that your model is a very good model. Your factor structure is a very good factor structure. You have done EFA also, and now you have confirmed it on another factor, and it is very good. But what happens is, though in the literature, if you read, people say that chi-square actually fails as the sample becomes larger. Okay, I don't agree with this contention. What happens is chi-square fails when models become complex. Okay, so chi-square test, this test number one, you will see it will start to fail as you make more complex models for your analysis. So therefore, there are some alternate fit indices. Okay, so there are some alternate fit indices that are also recommended. Alternate, in case chi-square fails, chi-square test fails, you can bank upon alternate fit indices to show or to make a claim that the model that you are testing, the factor structure that you are testing, is a good factor structure. So what are the alternate fit indices? The first one is what we call as relative chi-square. What is relative chi-square? It is nothing but the ratio of chi-square and degrees of freedom, and that we say, what is the number that we should look for? We should usually look for chi-square, relative chi-square, this ratio to be less than 3. Okay, that will give us a good fit. Then we have another indicator which we call as the root mean squared error of approximation. This we should get somewhere below 0.05. This is another indices that we will look for in case our chi-square fails. Then the fourth one that we will look for is comparative fit index. Okay, this is something that the tool will tell us, and we will have to just look for what happens. This should be greater than 0.95. This is maximum. It ranges from 0 to 1. So it should be greater than 0.95. And the last one is what we call as goodness of fit index. This should also be greater than 0.95. It ranges from 0 to 1 again. Okay, this can, RMSE can take any value. We should look for anything less than 0.05. So if your chi-square test passes, this first condition passes, then you can close your eyes and believe that 2, 3, 4, and 5 will also pass. There is no way these will not pass. But if one fails, then you can show that if your 2, 3, 4, and 5 are giving you good result, then you can say that my model is good fit, even if my chi-square test is failing, because it has been commonly observed that chi-square fails for large samples or complex models. Is that clear for everybody? Right? And that is what we are going to do when we are going to do our factor analysis. Is that okay? Now, let me just quickly go through a presentation on very quickly what is it that we are going to do, and I'm going to skip this. Nomenclature, I think we have done this enough so many times. Latent variable, observed variable, exogenous variable, and endogenous variable. Can you tell me in this model, what is an exogenous variable?
Leadership, sir. Leadership.
Procedural justice.
Items are the exogenous.
Leadership is exogenous.
Leadership,
Factors
sir.
are the endogenous.
Okay, first, what is a latent variable? All the circles
All-
are latent.
yeah.
Yes. What is
Yeah.
an observed variable? All the boxes are
Boxes are observed.
Observed variable.
right. What are exogenous variables in this model?
Independent variable.
Leadership.
What is exogenous? What is
Leadership,
Leadership.
exogenous?
leadership,
Yeah.
Procedural justice,
Yeah.
CPP.
What is
Le-
exogenous?
leadership,
Exogenous means
Leadership,
Leadership is exogenous.
procedural justice,
CJ and CPV.
CPP.
And
leadership.
So everything
leadership,
I have heard
Items-
everything. PJ is also
Items
exogenous.
are the exogenous.
We will say anything, sir. We will say everything. You choose whatever you want.
What is exogenous variable?
leadership,
Arey, let me.
Let him explain.
What is exogenous?
Let sir explain.
What is exogenous variable? Exogenous variable is a variable that is independent in our model, that does not get determined through our model. Okay, that is an exogenous variable. What is an exogenous variable in this, which is not getting determined in our model? Now, can you tell me? PJ is getting determined by lead. CPB is also, you are seeing arrow coming from lead,
Yeah.
right? All the indicators are getting arrows from their latent constructs. So the indicators are also getting determined by their latent constructs. So what is exogenous? What is not getting determined? It is only the circle lead.
Lead. Yeah.
And anything else? All the errors.
Yeah.
Is
Yes.
anybody determining errors? You see these arrows, they are floating. That means they are coming from somewhere, but nobody is determining this arrow, correct?
Yeah.
So all these errors, E1, E2, E3, and so on, they are exogenous, and the only construct that is exogenous is lead.
Lead.
Yes. Okay, everything else, all these errors are also, these errors, these are all exogenous and the lead. What is endogenous now? Endogenous is anything that is getting determined in the model. It is endogenous. Okay, so everything else is endogenous apart from these errors and lead, right? So that is a nomenclature that we will remember. Measurement errors, I think we have talked enough. So all of these are measurement errors that are associated with items. And then there is also a term that we call as structural error. Remember, structural in structural equation modeling is regression. So where is regression happening?
Betas.
Here for the beta.
leadership and PJ,
So you will have two structural errors, which is the residual of the regression. So you will have one structural error associated with PJ because PJ is getting determined, and you will have second structural error that will be associated with CPB because that is also getting determined through the regression. So measurement errors are all the errors associated with the items. So these are all measurement errors. E6, E7, E8, these are all examples of measurement errors, and these are structural errors or errors of the regression. Is that okay? This is the terminology that we will follow. And covariance, anyways, we know covariances are correlations or degree of association between any two variables. So what are the things that are unknown to us? We have covariances, loadings. I will come to this. I will explain what is it. Okay, so let us look at this model, and then we will do our first example of CFA. So now you see this is a confirmatory model. So the first thing that we see is one item belongs to only one factor, right? This is what we had said. Unlike exploratory factor analysis, where this item can load onto multiple factors. But here we are saying there is one path going from one circle to the item. So this is called as loading. This is called as loading in our model. Okay. This is the item, and then this is the error, and the error is completely associated with this item, right? This is what we say, error is completely associated, and therefore you will see the loading is 1. 1 here indicates that it is 100% associated with this item present. Is that okay? Similarly for all the other items. Then this is exogenous. This is endogenous, right? Endogenous here. These are examples of measurement errors. These are all. Everybody please keep your mics muted. Harleen, can you please mute yourself? Others also.
ये और 20 मिनट
Right, Emmy, and then this zeta here, zeta is the example of structural, because this is the regression path.
कितना
Please keep your mics muted, people. Okay, is regression path. Okay, that is one. This is, you see, this is what we call as covariance. Always remember, double direction arrows mean, what is happening here? They mean covariance. Single direction arrow, they mean regressions, right? So that is the diagrammatic representation that we will follow when we are doing confirmatory models. Okay, what else? So this is a free parameter. The tool will estimate it. And you see, I have also written op v1 is equal to op v2. That means this is equal to this. So I have constrained. This is called as a constrained parameter. I have said this is going to be equal to op underscore v2. So I have constrained. I have constrained this parameters. I have told that this is okay. So what are the stages very quickly that we will do? Model specification, what we specify, then identification, that will come to degrees of freedom. We will come to that. Okay. Let us directly go to RStudio and let us do an example, right? So everybody open your RStudio, and through that example, I will explain to you what we are doing. So let us open this next script, which is lecture CFA SEM.R. Okay. You all are seeing this file. Okay. Now, for SEM and CFA, we will need another package. Up till now, we were working with R Commander and Psych. Now we will go to another package through which we do CFA and structural equation modeling, and this package is called as LAVAN, LAVAN. If you break it down, what does LAVAN stand for? LAVAN stands for latent. So LA stands for latent, VA stands for variable, latent variable, and AN stands for analysis. So it stands for latent variable analysis, LAVAN. Okay. And so the first thing that we will do is, because we want to use this for our analysis, we will load or install this package. So I am running this line where I say install.packages LAVAN. Okay, so my first package gets installed here. This is not needed, so you can actually comment this out. Library foreign is not needed. And then we will invoke the LAVAN package by saying library LAVAN. Okay. Yes, so I have done library LAVAN, and LAVAN has been loaded. Now, if you go to your readings folder, I have given you, go to the second folder, which is CFA SEM. You will see there is so someone was asking, how do we learn before the break? You were asking, how do we learn the commands or the syntax? So if you want to learn SEM using R, this is the tutorial, go-to tutorial that you should follow. This is a documentation, or it is called as the LAVAN tutorial. So it gives you all the syntaxes, right? So you see install.package LAVAN, library LAVAN, and then the model syntaxes. So you can just read this and go through this. I am going to refer to, you can open it up if you have it in front of you, and go to page number 3, LAVAN tutorial, page number 3. Okay. And now let us go to.
Sir, I'm sorry, but I'm not able to have lectures cfa-sem.org.
It is there in the shared drive.
Correct.
Where,
no, but how do I get it here?
How do you get it there? You download it from the drive?
No. On the RStudio.
You open the file. You open the file from the file window. She's asking, how do you open it?
You have to, first of all, you will have to save it in your working directory, wherever you are having, right? First save it in the working directory, and then file, open file, and you will see the R script here, cfa.sem.r.
Okay. Yeah.
Open it. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Now we have already read this data. So data R&D is already there. Okay. So we don't need to bother about it. Our data is already read. Okay. Now the first thing that we will have to do in LAVAN, okay, or in CFA, remember CFA is where you will have to specify your model. You will have to specify your model. Unlike exploratory factor analysis, where we said anything can load onto anything. Here now we will have to specify, because we want to tell the tool which item belongs to which particular factor. Do you agree with me? Yes. So the first model that I'm going to test here is, or the first factor model that I want to show it to you is, I'm going to now draw, or I want to now test the first confirmatory model, which is this. So I have EMP, I have LEX, and I have TO. I have EMP, LEX, and TO. I know that EMP now has 3 items because I have already explored the structure. I know LEX has 3 items. I have explored the structure. And I know that TO has 4 items. I have explored this structure as well, right? This is EMP1, this is EMP2, this is EMP3, this is LEX1, LEX2, LEX3, this is TO1, this is TO2, this is TO3, and this is TO4. Okay, so I have 3 dimensions, and I also am going to allow these to co-vary, right? I am also going to allow these to co-vary because they are. Now, can you tell me what are the exogenous variables in this model? So this is our first CFA run that we are going to do. Now, can you tell me what are the exogenous variables here?
Yes.
Errors.
Other errors.
Yes, so we have 10 errors.
Yes, yes.
And anything else? So we have 10 errors that are exogenous, and
Lead we have to write.
That's it, sir.
Second order dimension here.
no, they are not second order, they are first order. They are the first circles that come to us, right? So they are the first order, and the first 3 first order factors are
Yeah.
also exogenous.
Exogenous. Yes.
Is that okay? So we will have 3 plus the 10 error terms. These are the exogenous, and all the indicators are the endogenous variables in our model. So now, how do we define this? How do we tell the tool this factor structure? Now the factor, how we define this in the tool is very simple. We say EMP. You can give it any name. I am just giving it EMP. Okay. EMP.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yes.
Sir, like last time when we were discussing just few minutes back, we said that EMP, LEX is not it's an exogenous factors because they are, impacting. So now they become endogenous. So what happened suddenly?
Why can you tell me?
No, I know that you said that now they are into the first order circle, but I don't know what does that mean, but I know you said this.
So can you tell me what is the difference between this diagram and why they were endogenous here, and why they are exogenous in the model that we are testing? Because
Maybe we are doing it separately, each testing.
No lead.
No, we are saying
Can I
that
take a guess why?
Independent and dependent.
we are
So
saying
the arrows are in unidirection.
yes, yes,
Are going towards a lead. So
yes.
these become the independent or the exogenous factors.
So what we are saying here in this diagram, we are saying that there is a second order construct. What is, so Ankita, to answer your question, what is first order? First order is, these were the observed items for my latent construct EMP. So that is the first circle that I encounter, right? So if I were to move from the item forward, my first circle is the first order factor. That means this is the EMP dimension. And then what I am saying here is that these 3 dimensions are actually part of a larger construct which I call as leadership.
Leadership.
Is that okay? So now I move further and I meet the second circle. So this is called as the second order factor. This is called as first order factor. And in our terminology, this is called as hierarchical CFA. This is hierarchical. First hierarchy is EMP, TO, and LEX, and the second hierarchy is lead. This is what is defined in the literature as hierarchical CFA. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, why are they endogenous here? Because they are getting in turn determined by lead. That is why they are endogenous. Whereas in this CFA model that I have drawn here, what am I saying? That they are not getting at this time determined by a second order factor. They are independent here. They are existing independently. They are not getting determined by anything. That is why they are exogenous here. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So this is first order. This is the first circle that we see. First order factor. Now, how do we write this in the syntax that we follow in Lavaan to declare this factor structure? So we will say EMP is equal to tilde. Is equal to tilde means this is determined, or this the latent factor. Okay, let me actually go to this third document. You see, it says equal to tilde is measured by. What does it mean? Equal to tilde is measured by. So it means latent factor is measured by. Okay, that is the reference. So this EMP is measured by whom? By E1, E2 and
E1, E2, E3.
E3. So what will we write? We will say the syntax in our model declaration for CFA, we will say E1 plus the second item E2 plus E3. Very simple. That's it. This is the declaration for first factor. Then the second factor, we will again say LEX is equal to tilde. Now it will be L1
plus L2 plus L3.
L2 plus L3. And then the last one, we will say TO is equal to tilde is measured by, TO is measured by TO1,
TO2 plus TO2 plus
TO3
TO3 plus TO4
plus TO4.
4.
So just in 3 lines, I have told the tool what is the factor structure. Okay. Now I also need to model these double direction arrows. I also want to model the correlations or covariance between EMP, LEX and TO. Now what is the covariance symbol? It is double tilde. Double tilde is correlated with. So what will I say? I will say EMP co-varies with LEX. Right? I will say EMP co-varies with TO and LEX
tells to TO.
LEX co-varies with. Is that okay, everybody?
Okay, sir.
So we have declared all the thing that we want to declare, and then how do we say? We put in single quotes. We put it in single quotes, you see, and then save this model declaration in a variable. So I am going to say, I will save this declaration. I will put this in single quote, and I will save this declaration in a model called as, you can give it anything. You can give it your own name. I can even save it in my name. Okay, this is just a variable that you want to declare. So I have given it a name, lead. Okay. Is that okay? And this is what the syntax of the confirmatory. So this is the model declaration that you see, line number 20, lead. Okay, and the model is, so I am writing, my comment is latent first order factor descriptions. EMP is equal to tilde, EMP1, EMP2, EMP3. Lead by examples. You can give it any name. As I said, you can even give it simply LEX. Okay, this is also up to you. You can give it F1, F2, F3. That is also okay. Okay, I have just given it as a name, lead by example is equal to tilde LEX 1, 2, 3. And task orientation, again, you can give it any name. I have written a factor name as task orientation is equal to TO1, 2, 3 and 4. And then I have set covariances, which is EMP, lead by example, EMP task orientation, and lead by example task orientation. And then what I am saying here, I am saying fit. So what is the command now? CFA. Do confirmatory factor analysis. What is the model on which you should perform confirmatory factor analysis? Lead. What is the data? Data is data R&D. And then standard error, you can, this is just a default, you can leave it as it is. Okay, you just have to declare your data and give the model name. And then summary, report the result of this analysis, which is fit. Fit.measure, so do report the fit indices, model fit indices, and also report the standardized results. Standardized is equal to true. So this also you don't need to change anything, just leave it default. Just put the name of this output here, fit, okay, and then, so let us do this. Select this whole model declaration from lead to end of quote. Okay, and then run this. So you will see what has happened. It has run. This has run. Okay, so now you will find a name lead here. Values in the environment, you will see lead getting created. Then let us run this command CFA lead data R&D. Okay, it has also run, and now I report the result of my analysis. Have you run this, everybody? Yes, you can try this out and see the result. Now let us see what it is telling us. Number of free parameters. I will tell you this in the next class. Okay, how do we compute parameters? Number of observations is 557. Test statistic. Okay, this test statistic is the chi-square. So chi-square for our model is 118.27. Degrees of freedom is 32. And p-value, we wanted p-value to be greater than 0.05, but here p-value is coming to be less than 0.05. Then what is the other thing that you can look at? Comparative fit index, 0.975. This we said it should be greater than 0.95. So it is giving us a fit index greater than 0.95. Then RMSEA. RMSEA, we said it should be less than 0.05. Here we are getting it to be 0.07. And there is another one, SRMR, 0.035. This SRMR, standardized root mean residual, this should also be less than 0.05. That is okay. Now the next thing is, you see latent variables. The next output is latent variables. So the first column here is the unstandardized coefficient. This is the unstandardized path loading. And the last one, standardized.all, is the standardized loading. It is the standardized loading. So the loading of the first item onto the latent factor EMP is 0.756. 0.756. Loading of the second factor, it is 0.887. Loading for the third is 0.812. And the unstandardized are these. Okay, and you will curiously observe that the first item has been tied to 1. EMP is tied to 1, LEX is tied to 1, and task orientation is also tied to 1. So why does this happen? You see, for each latent factor, one of the paths, unstandardized loading of one of the paths is tied to 1. This is done because the tool, you see, E1, E2, E3, it knows that E1 is measured on a scale of 1 to 5. E2 it knows is measured on a scale of 1 to 5. E3 it knows is measured on a scale of 1 to 5. But what about EMP? EMP, the tool is estimating, correct? It is estimating this factor. So what should be the metric? What should be the scale for this latent factor? It knows the observed items, all right. It knows the scale is 1 to 5. But what should be the scale for this latent factor that it is estimating? So in order to do that, we tell the tool that this range for the latent factor should also be 1 to 5 by attaching one of the paths or setting one of the paths to 1. This is compulsory. This is a necessity for confirmatory factor analysis. If you don't do this, the tool will give you an error and say, I cannot run this estimate because I do not know the scale for the latent factor. But here you will tell me, you can ask me that, sir, we did not attach this one to any item. So what it does is, by default, it attaches the first, it constrains the first items in this description to 1. Is that okay? Why does it do that? Because it wants to know what should be the scale for my latent factor. Is that clear?
So, sir, sorry. So, sir, it picks up the scale same as the item. If it was 1 to 7, it would pick up 1 to 7 for the factor.
Yes. If it was 1 to 7, it will also scale the latent to 1 to 7. If it was 1 to 9, the scale of the latent will also become 1 to 9. If it was 1 to 100, the scale of the latent will also become 1 to 100. At least it now knows that I have to now estimate values between these ranges, lower and the upper limit. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. And one more small question, sir. So when we are considering a reflective construct for including that in the CFA, what is the is 2 or is 3 the minimum number of items that should be attached to it?
A very good question. We should have a minimum of 3. A minimum of 3. Okay. A minimum of 3 items per latent construct. First order latent construct should have a minimum of 3. Ideally, I had told this in previous class also, ideally you should aim for at least 4.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Go down to 3 also, but if you go down below 3, you will run into problems. Okay, the tool estimation for CFA will not work. Is that okay?
Okay, sir. Thank
you. So now this estimate, latent estimate, 1 is the unstandardized. Standard error is not there because it has been constrained to 1. Okay. For others, you see p-value. This shows that the loadings are highly significant. That means the loadings are significant. And then you have the covariances. Covariance between factor, EMP and lead by example is 0.303. And what is the correlation? Remember, what is the relationship between correlation and covariance? Correlation is standardized covariance. So the last output in this row is the correlation. So the correlation between EMP and lead by example is 0.56. EMP and task orientation, it is 0.667. And lead by example and task orientation is 0.712. And then the variances that it has estimated, the variances these are the error variances of the 10 items, and then variance of the latent factor, lead by example. This anyways, this is something that we may not need so often. What is most needed for us is what are the loadings of our latent factor and what is the model fit indices. Okay, and then if you run this line number 37, fit measures, so it shows at one time what are the model fit indices. Number of parameters in the model is 23, chi-square is 118, degree of freedom is 32, p-value is less than 0.05, CFI is 0.97, RMSEA is 0.07, RMSEA lower and higher, that is the confidence interval, SRMR, and goodness of fit index. So we are seeing everything is good, but chi-square is not passing. Okay, chi-square p-value is less than 0.05, but and RMSEA is also not good. We said it should be less than 0.05. Okay, so that is something that we will have to improve upon if we are to do it. Let me also just show you. I will have to run this. Install. Okay, let me just see if it will come. I think I may have to install some package. Yes, so
It gave a error.
yes, we will stop here, and you can install these two packages also, XML and SEM plot. Okay, and I'm just showing you what is the use of these two packages. It will take some time, so you can do it at your end. Any questions?
Sir, I was unable.
Yes.
Yes, sir, I was unable to run this model description code. So what I did, I selected it and I pressed run. But then what it is giving me in the output is, it is just giving me the code once again in the output. But
No.
I mean, it just.
So you run.
Sir, yeah, same thing happened with me.
Okay, everybody, I am doing it again. Look at my screen, please. Okay, I have selected from lead till the end of this single quote. Is that okay?
I think single quote was missed, I guess.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
So you have to go till the end of this, the last single quote where the model description closes. Okay. And then run. Okay. Now it comes back to this greater than prompt again. That means it has read this model description. Okay, so far?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now we go to the next line, which is running the CFA. I simply put my cursor anywhere on the line and click run. Is this okay?
Yes.
Now I go
Yes,
to
sir.
the next line and click summary, and I get the output of the analysis.
Okay.
Is this okay?
Yes, sir.
Sir, how to install XML file? XML?
So just you can copy this install package, okay? And simply in place of Lavan, just say XML. In place of Lavan here, just say SEM plot, or you can also go to tools and say install packages. And you can simply type here XML. XML comes and then say install. Now XML is installing. Okay. Yes. Now what I just want to show here, I will load XML. I will load SEM plot. Okay. And then after running my CFA, if I click on this path, click on this command, select the complete command, SEM path, open till end of this parenthesis, that is line number 38 to line number 41. If you click on this, you get a diagrammatic representation of our confirmatory factor analysis. You see, we are getting EMP, lead by X, and task orientation. This dotted line, why do you see a dotted line? It is only telling you that this path, this item has been constrained to 1. Okay, that is why it is showing it in dotted line. This also is constrained to 1. These are the 10 errors. These are the standardized, all of these are standardized output. So this is the correlation between the two constructs. 0.72 is the correlation between these two constructs. 0.67 is the correlation between these two constructs, and these are the standardized loadings. Is that okay? So this is the confirmatory factor output, factor analysis output. Is this okay?
Sir, I did not get this diagram.
Sir, I also did not get it.
You will have to run, first install these two packages. Unless you install XML and SEM plot, you will not get it.
Done, sir. Installed it.
Okay, and then run this command SEM path up till end of this parenthesis, which is false. So SEM path, open parenthesis and close parenthesis. Select this whole command and then run.
Actually, I'm not getting the previous command also, that model declaration. I'm not getting the complete output.
No, as I mentioned, you have to run this complete description.
Yeah, I did that.
And then run CFA and then summary. You will get it. Okay. Okay, so is this okay, everybody? We will stop here and just revise or look for what we have done. And
Sir, I had one question.